So we are on chapter 13 of the five love languages, children and love languages. This is an interesting chapter. In previous chapters, Dr. Chapman has mentioned a few examples with children, and I've also, as we've been going through these videos together, given a few examples with children. But in this chapter, he really digs into the essence of it. He has parents ask him on a regular basis, hey, does this love language thing apply to children? And it does. In fact, he proposes that understanding the love languages of your children is very important because in his observation as a professional counselor, he is of the opinion that most adolescent misbehavior stems out of empty love tanks. For younger children, we don't know their love language most likely to start with, which means, as he recommends, that we should pour on all five of the love languages to the younger children. Just give them all five types: hugs, words of affirmation, give them quality time, gifts, and acts of service to help them feel love. And then over time, their love language will emerge. Children inherently seem to understand reciprocity. And so in many cases, they will do to others the things they want done to them. So for instance, if dad comes home from work and the child runs in and touches his face and tassels his hair, it's highly possible that that child may have physical touch as a love language. Whereas if the child wants his parents' undivided attention, absolute focus, hey, come see, come see, come see, then that child's love language may be quality time and so forth. And of course, acts of service are interesting because for little children, they need almost infinite service from their parents, almost everything, or they would die. And so that one may be a little bit more difficult to detect. But he points out that if a child is particularly appreciative for service, or if the child is definitely doing service for younger siblings, etc., that may be an indication that that child's primary love language is acts of service. And he points out that parents do love their children. The vast majority of parents love their children. It's just that they may be expressing it in a way that the child doesn't clearly understand. For instance, he points out that there's a big difference between buying the child a toy or a baseball bat or playing with the toy or playing baseball with them. If the child's primary love language is gifts, giving them the gift may be sufficient. But if it's quality time, the number of gifts doesn't matter. It's really the spending the time with them, playing with the toy, and helping them enjoy that time together. He points out that with babies, we naturally shower them with lots of words of affirmation. We use coos and, oh, you're so cute language, etc. So we naturally do lots of positive affirmations for little kids, even when they're starting to walk. If they fall, we don't say, oh, you dumb kid, why'd you fall? No, we say, oh, good job, good job, good job for trying. Whereas as they get older, a lot of those words of affirmation turn into words of condemnation. I personally have acknowledged this and noticed this as I've watched people around me as they get into arguments with their teenagers. I've found it ironic that when the child is a baby, the conversation starts very lovingly, very cooing, very, lots of love in the language. Whereas by the time they're teenagers, in many cases, the first words out of the parent's mouth when they talk to them are already stern. And obviously we wouldn't use, baby talk with teenagers, but the point is we should model for our children the way we would want them to model for others and give words of affirmation and love. Think about it. If you had a boss who every time he opened his mouth was scolding you, would you want to talk to that boss? Would you want to give him much time? Would you want to give him your best efforts? So why would it be any different with your children? Regardless of whether their primary love language is words of affirmation or not, it's important to forgive our children in our voices, to start out with a calm and pleasant voice and give them the chance to enjoy being in our company rather than holding a grudge in our voice against every mistake they've made before. So words of affirmation, regardless of whether it's their primary or not, are very important to maintain a good relationship and keep open communication with our children and teens. When children are small, parents may not understand their need for quality time. But he also emphasizes that if a child's love language is quality time and we're unwilling to give them the quality time when they're little, that is rolling a ball back and forth, playing dolls, playing the things they want to play and focusing on them, then when they get older, they may seek their quality time with friends and others, having given up on getting that quality time with their parents and seeking it from others. So again, if we want quality time with our teens, it's important to do quality time with children when they are children. As a reminder, for parents who have children with a primary love language of receiving gifts, it's important to remember that it's not about the cost of the gift. I know that this can be intimidating for many parents because they feel that they may not have money to give their kids lots of gifts. But it's important to remember that it's more about the token of your affection than it is about the cost of the gift. So he recommends even potentially getting secondhand toys and restoring them together to make them nice as an activity to do with the child potentially. So again, it's the idea of the thought that counts, that you were thinking of them and that you got a gift, even if you end up making the gift. If the child is particularly appreciative of acts of service you do for them, or they are often doing service for others, that may be a clue that their primary love language is acts of service. In terms of physical touch, it's very natural to hug and pick up and coddle and care for little children. But once they get older to the teenage years, it may not be as clear because obviously a teenager, particularly in front of their friends, doesn't necessarily want a lot of direct affection from their parents. But he points out that the clue here may be a teenager who likes to push on you, intentionally grab your ankle, do things that involve physically touching you, maybe giving you an indication that their primary love language is physical touch and that they'd like a little more physical interaction from you. Dr. Chapman explains that his oldest daughter's primary love language was quality time. And so he would do walks with her and enjoyed many treasured times with her. But that his oldest son did not have that language. And so for him, walks seemed kind of stupid. So it's important to not try and pour all of our children into the same mold. Most likely your children have different love languages, and you need to explore and figure out what the primary love language is of each and help them feel love in that particular love language. Consider, for instance, in Genesis chapter 25, the story of Jacob and Esau. They were the twins born to Isaac and Rebekah. And between the two twins, we see that Isaac favored Esau and that Rebekah favored Jacob. In the scripture, it even uses the word love, that Isaac loved Esau and Rebekah loved Jacob. I doubt that they actually didn't love the other child, but again, they favored the one who aligned with them more easily. So it's important to remember that they are each unique and we need to figure out their individual love languages and express love to them individually. When people learn each other's love languages and serve each other, help each other express love in those languages, the climate in the home changes and things are better. So there can be peace and harmony in a home, even with teenagers, as we look to intentionally fill each other's love tanks. He also points out, if you're already at the teenage phase and have been struggling with this because you didn't understand your child's love language, that it may be a good opportunity to talk to them openly about the 5 love languages, acknowledge that maybe you haven't been serving them well in their love language, and discuss with them how you can show love to them better and how they can show love to you. So that's it for chapter 13. As always, the references are in the description.